Hello my friends, welcome back to part 2. I hope you're all keeping very, very well. What did you think so far? I think it's coming on quite nice. I'm loving the colours. Particularly, I do like this lovely soft turquoise we have there for the sun coming through the wave. So if you've missed part 1, go over and check part 1 out. It's very interesting, as very easy going, just lots of loose brushwork and great fun. So do pop over and take a look and follow me on in part 2. So we're just going to finish all this big splash up here. Fan knife work, palette knife, and let's just kind of simplify it. But we're on the home straight, and this is where it all comes together. So I have my photograph ready over here. A couple of tricky techniques in here, but I think you'll enjoy them as well and help you with your painting. So that's the whole point of all of this, just to help you, give you a little bit of confidence and just to show you how you can simplify a very complicated scene. So let's crack on. Let's finish this and see what it looks like when it's finished. I'm excited and nervous at the same time, because you just never know how something is going to go. It could go completely sideways and look absolutely terrible. We just don't know. But it's only paint. We can fix it. So let's try and make this look somewhat nice. Right, I get ready here. Don't go anywhere. Okay, my friends, what I'm going to do first is, now, it's the following day. This has kind of sort of, I won't say dried in, but it's kind of taken hold. So it's going to be difficult for me to sort of blend more colour into this. So what I might do is just maybe go over this very kind of lightly with another light coat of similar colours, just to wet the canvas again. Excuse me. I do apologise, I have a very bad chest infection for the last 2 weeks. Okay, I'm going to get some light blue. Take some white and let's go for a little phthalo blue. Get a little bit of light blue. Now, I don't want to go too light with all of this. I want to keep it nice and dark as well at the same time. So let's get plenty of phthalo blue now into this. And I just want to kind of go across here with that slightly lighter shade, okay, look. I just want to kind of bring it through in that section just there. Then I'll go into some white and I'll just bring a little bit of white in there. Just, I'm kind of swishing it around here and there, you see what I mean? Just like that. So we have just a slightly lighter area then over there. And I also want to darken down here again, just a little bit more. I think it needs just a touch more paint, and I'm just going to dampen my brush very, very lightly. Very, very lightly now, okay? Take a little bit of phthalo blue, maybe try a bit of violet, a little bit of black, and let me just take a look now at this. That's fine, and it's just, look, this is a very light coat. It's just really only to kind of wet the canvas again, so to speak, just so I can get my nice soft colours then to blend in here. That's the problem sometimes, especially when I'm doing tutorials, you see. If I leave it overnight for whatever reason and I come back to it, it can sort of dry out slightly, and then it's difficult to kind of get your softer colours back in again. So that's why sometimes then I'll have to just kind of come back over it with another layer. Does that make sense? Okay, no, that's not bad. That's all right. I'm going to go up now and just maybe wet that area just again with a little bit of that same colour. That's all, just a little bit. Just to get that area nice and sort of damp again. So, Naples yellow, a little bit of blue, and just come up very gently. And now I might take a little bit of cadmium yellow as well, just to make that a little bit more luminous. Okay, just like that, that's fine. And I'm going to take some cobalt turquoise and some Naples yellow. I might just see what kind of effect that gives me. So yeah, it's a similar colour. It's amazing, especially with painting. Sometimes you could mix two completely different colours, two completely different blues, and two completely different yellows together, and they can give you the very same colour, you know. That's the nice thing about painting, because you can be so versatile with your colour. I'm going to take a little bit of that turquoise cobalt now and just pop a little bit of that here and there, because I do want to keep this kind of a green. There's a green undertone in all of this, which is very nice. And just keep turning it, following your wave, okay? That's all. And you can see already we have that shape. I think now we're ready for some of this kind of, do you see this white foamy stuff coming through? I'm going to start some of that. I'll take some cobalt turquoise and plenty of white. So I'm not going for a pure white, not just yet. I want to try some of this first. Now, this is tricky in the sense that just kind of look at where you are and just kind of bring it down. And you see the way it just sort of wiggles all over the place. It just kind of goes here, there and everywhere, doesn't it? Really. You know, it's very random. So I'm literally using, I'm just using the tip of my flat brush, and up here where it's light then, you can see they're slightly darker, aren't they? So I'm going to pick up some nice dark paint now first for up here. And I'm just going to go like this. You see what I mean? And then follow it down. Now what's actually happening as well is the brush is kind of going into the paint that's there. It's taking off the paint that's there rather than putting fresh paint on. Now it's putting it on, but at the same time it's kind of removing some of the paint as well. So I'm just going to keep going like this now, and as you come down you can see the way it just sort of wiggles and disappears off. It kind of comes off almost like tree branches, isn't it? One kind of comes off the other. And if you find maybe, you know, this brush is probably a little bit on the thick side, there's not really much of a point on the tip of this. If you find that's happening, maybe just go to a small detailed pointy brush. You can do that too. Okay, so we have a lot of that kind of stuff going on. Look, I'm just going to, again, follow the direction of the water. That's very important. That's probably the most important aspect of painting this type of a scene. You must follow the direction of the water. That's very important. And you know, you could do a lot of this with a palette knife as well if you wanted. Now I'm going to try a little bit of Naples yellow and white, because that will give me a nice luminous colour, but at the same time a kind of a warm colour. Do you understand what I mean? That does help, especially just where it's kind of in the centre here. There's kind of a glow going on here, isn't there? And I'm just being very, very random with my brush. I'm trying to just be very loose and not think too much about, you know, not think too much about getting it perfect. I'm just popping a bit of paint in there and just leaving it go and see what happens. You see what I mean? In fact, some of the time I'm not even looking at the photograph. I'm just going my own kind of a way, you know, just and seeing what happens. Already it's looking okay, isn't it? It's not bad at all. It's not bad. Okay, a little bit more white. Now, I say white, what's happening is, you know, if I just took a very light whitey blue, for example, when I put this on, it's going to immediately start mixing with the colour that's there. So, you know, the colour you're putting on your brush is not the colour that's going to go on the canvas, so to speak. So you have to kind of plan for that as well. So just remember that. It's going to mix immediately almost with the colour that's on there. So, you know, don't think that if you put a pure white on your brush, it's going to come out pure white. No, it's not. It's going to kind of thin out as it goes on the canvas and mix with the paint that's already there. I'm putting a bit of blue in here now, look. A nice bit of deep phthalo blue. And you see again, once I put it on, it's going to start mixing, you see, and darkening and all that. You see what I mean? Just in the depth in there, in that dark space. So, phthalo blue. and just come in here, pop a little bit of phthalo blue in the dark part. That'll give a nice depth to this area. Now I might switch to a small brush there now, just one moment. I'm just going to, again, I just want to get, there's a lot of thick stuff just around here. I just want to get that in. There's that very thick area, isn't there? Just in there. And I'll go to my pointy brush then in a moment. Okay, I think I switched to my pointy brush. Let's go for a small little pointy brush. Now it's not very pointy. It's not a very pointy brush, but it's just a slightly thinner brush. And I'm going to thin this out just to give me more coverage. Okay, so a little bit of thinners on that. And that should help give us just a little bit more detail. Just a little. And you have to just keep remembering, you have to just keep loading your brush constantly for this. I think, you know, if you're struggling to get paint on, another easier way of doing this would be just to grab a palette knife, for example, and just put it on with your palette knife. Now, I will do that as well, but I just want to see if I can get most of the bits and pieces with this little small brush, okay? Just most of them. And look, it doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I am just going for a very soft impression in all of this. This is just an impression of a scene. It's not a photograph. I'm not painting a photograph. Just keep telling yourself that. It's not a photograph, it's just a painting. And it's a bit of fun. So just pop a few there like that. You know, already it's not too bad, is it? I come down, just down in here now, and I just want to refine some of these properly. I want to put some nice, proper, thick paint down here for these ones, just to give them a bit more presence and a bit more, make them a bit more solid, you know. Yeah, a little bit of highlight there now is nice. So let's go to our palette knife. And I think we shall just simply grab some paint. Let's get some of this phthalo blue and plenty of white. It is quite important as well, as you probably know, not to overdo things. It's very easy to overdo things on a painting like this. So I'm just going to very gently just kind of scrape a little bit of texture here and there. Just very, again, very lightly. Just going to go like this, look. I'm just going to turn the knife as it comes down as well. And then maybe just come over here and just do a little bit of this swishing from side to side. Again, just to add a bit of texture to the water, just over here. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I can come back to all of this after. I will maybe darken some of this. I'm going to darken some of that later. But I think first, let's go up and try and get this lovely foam, because that really kind of is the center point of the painting, isn't it? That big chunk of foam up there. So I think we should try and do that. What I start off with is the dark. There's a nice dark in there. I'm going to take some phthalo blue, a bit of black, some violet, and a tiny touch of this light colour here, this bit of white. Just pop a little bit of white in there. Make sure that's nicely mixed. And let's go like this, okay? I'm looking at the painting now when I'm doing this, or the photograph rather. I'm just looking at the photograph very quickly, You can see the way that dark just comes up like that. Kind of goes like this, okay, just around, comes up a bit in there. So basically just popping a little bit of dark in there. And I might just put a little touch of it here and there. Again, exaggerating it slightly. I know it's not perfect, but I'm not going to try and copy this photograph. I'm just going to put my own bit of a stamp on this, that's all it is. My own little bit of a stamp. And I'm going to come down here with that as well. I'm just going to kind of go around in little circular motions here, just softening it back down into this area down here, okay? So that is the dark section of the wave. From here on, it's just simply adding lighter shades. So I'm going to try some white with Naples yellow. And it's kind of mixing with what's there. There's a bit of a greeny shade now in this as well, okay? Let's go over here. Look, we start over here and just come down and these little curves coming down into all of that dark. Okay? That's it's a nice start just to get going, you know what I mean? Just to give us a bit of something on that. And load up the brush again, and let's come up here and get some nice bright colour up here. I'm simply right now just kind of focusing on, I suppose, getting the shape, all right, getting the contours of all of this in with this brush. You see how I'm kind of just going in like that, getting that down there like that, okay. That's not bad, it's okay. I'm going to try and go for a very bright whitey green. I think that'll be a nice shade to try over here. Go up like that, again getting all this lighter stuff. Just not the very bright stuff now. I'm not putting in the very, very bright stuff. I'm just getting, just kind of, I'm looking at the kind of the shapes of all of this. And keep your brush clean as well. Don't forget to keep your brush nice and clean. Okay, now we can go again. Let's go in here and we come right down into all this sort of, almost kind of softening it together, but not completely. Does that make sense? But you know, a lot of this is hoping it works out. That's what a lot of this is. You're hoping it just looks okay. You see how it's very randomly sort of just comes up and off. There's just different sort of you know, lines and bits of splash coming off and all that. It's very random, isn't it? Just again, what I would say to you is, remember, just keep your brush nice and clean. Keep changing your brush. Keep cleaning it on some tissue every couple of seconds. You know, after you do this for a couple of seconds, just go back in and just rub your tissue. Just keep your brush nice and clean. It does help. It keeps the colours nice and crisp and bright. Okay? That's what I would say. I'm just going up here now and I'm kind of almost just doing a dabbing technique really. But I know it needs to be more impactful, doesn't it? A lot more. So I will maybe try the palette knife as well. We could try the palette knife in a moment, just to see if we can get a bit more of a thicker type of finish. Put a couple of those up off there. This can go right up like this. Okay. They can disappear off like this just by dabbing very gently. And that's not bad. It's not bad. You know, this is all we're kind of, it's all sort of practice, isn't it? Look, almost like you're practicing just to see what will happen. Okay. Already we're looking quite good. We are. I'm going to take now some more white on my palette. I need a bit more white. And I might go in with the palette knife. I think I'll try this palette knife here. That's a nice thick palette knife, isn't it? Let's get some Naples yellow. And let's take a big chunk of white. Give that a very quick mix now. It's just a very bright white is all I want, okay? Not a yellowy white, just a very, very bright white. And the Naples yellow will give you that. I want to just really get some thick paint in up here. I really want it just to kind of jump off of the canvas and be nice and bright. So I'm going to go up here with that, just not blending it too much, but just enough that it stays on the canvas without mixing into the other paints too much. So you can see now how that has helped. Let's go over here as well with some of that. Get nice thick paint on. I'm just going around in sort of a flicky motion. I'm flicking it around in little circles. So I'm softening it sort of down into the darker section then just a little bit. We have a lot of nice thick paint going on over here too, don't we? And we come down into this section here, just on the outside. And going to go nice and bright out here as well, just around that side. And it's really just a lot of fun, I think, painting like this. It really is just so refreshing sometimes just to grab a palette knife like this and just have a go, because you just never know what it's going to turn out like until you do it. And sometimes you'll be very pleasantly surprised, I think. So yeah, just, you know, don't be afraid. It's not going to hurt. It's just a little bit of paint, palette knife. Just grab it, have a bit of fun. I'm going to just come down now along here with a little bit of that light colour and just kind of face off the bottom of that there. And I'm going to go up here. I think I need a lot more up here. Like that. Now, I also know that you might feel that you're kind of wasting your paint. You know, look, there's a lot of artists out there, especially beginners, they can't afford to be buying lots of tubes of paint just to use for a palette knife. But every now and then I do, just very rarely, I just kind of use a lot of paint on my palette knife just to create a certain effect for that one painting. It may only be 1 in every 6 paintings or 1 in every 7 paintings, but it's nice to let go sometimes and just not be afraid of using up your paint. Sometimes it's really nice just to try that. Now I am going to lose some of this one here. I just think it's a little bit too much perhaps, so I'm just going to kind of leave that disappear in there slightly. So you can do a lot with the palette knife, just kind of rubbing it and moving and scraping it. There's a lot you can do. And maybe just as we come down, leave it just disappear like that. Okay. That, my friends, is not bad. I might take a little bit of black, maybe a little tiny bit of blue, and just go up here and add a little bit of dark just here and there. Look, just in underneath that section there. And I might add a tiny bit of it just along in here on some of those pieces, just to create the impression of some shadow in under that, okay? Now, I don't think that's bad at all, my friends. I don't think that's too bad at all. I'm going to take some Naples yellow, some turquoise and a little bit of white, right? I'm just going to go in under this and just set that down a little bit more, just with a little bit of thicker paint. Just like so. Now you could, you could, if you wanted to, you could really just call this finished, I suppose. I mean, I don't see any apparent reason to, continue on with all of this. You could call this finished absolutely, and it would be absolutely fine, I think. It's up to yourself when to stop, all right? It's a difficult question to answer. Do I keep going? Do I add a bit more here or there or whatever? It's a difficult question. I think it's just personal preference, really. It's up to you. If you feel like you have enough done, excellent. Then just stop what you're doing, put everything down, and call it finished. It's a very difficult question. I tend to kind of doodle sometimes like this unnecessarily, and that's a big problem. Because you may just keep going at it and you don't know when enough is enough, and you end up sometimes spoiling what you have. So yes, that's a good question. When do I stop? When do I have enough of this done? That's what I find is the tricky part of painting, because sometimes you're enjoying it so much. You're really having a lot of fun and you almost don't want to stop, do you? That's a tricky part. But if you're having fun, just go with the flow. And, if you make a mistake, sometimes you have a lot of fun trying to fix the mistake as well. So that can be sometimes a bonus, because you're learning, aren't you? You're learning different things. I think I'm almost there. I'm just having one more quick look around now to get that deep that thick impact on this section just around here, just to get that real eye-catching kind of section of a painting. I think I call it finished, my friends. We just cover that bit of black there. It's a bit harsh, isn't it? And maybe just kind of come up like that, just a touch. Perhaps we could add just one or two of those little, those little bits like that, look, that you'll see coming off the splash, just very gently here and there. There could be one or two down here as well. Just the odd one or two kind of falling down. And up around there, look, we can put a few up there as well. Maybe a few dotted around as it's falling down this way. But again, not too much. I don't want to overdo this. And I'm going to let that be finished. Okay, my friends? I hope you enjoyed watching. I really do. I'm going to zoom in for you and just give you a look. Look, we could perhaps even down around here, you could add a little touch of that deeper greenier shade as well. Again, just adding a more of a solid colour to all that. But in general, I'm pretty happy. I think I've kind of achieved what I wanted to achieve. And I'm going to say it's finished. So there we go. Let me zoom in for you if I can. So you can see all that lovely texture we have. Lovely thick paint. And I've just kind of, you can see how I've just really sort of kept this simple. I didn't want to go into too much detail with all of this. But I think in its own right, that is a wonderful painting. I think that's very, very nice. I'm quite happy with that. I'll put a signature on it and maybe frame it. And I think that might look quite eye-catching in a big frame. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I hope you've learned a little bit about oil painting and a few little hints and tips. And if anything else, just a little bit of confidence, just to try it. You know, what's the worst that can happen? There's still, I can still see a few bits that I could improve on, but you know, I might just grab a pointy brush later on or something and maybe just finish a couple of tiny details. For example, as I'm here, I'm going to show you, just let's take a bit of dark paint, okay? And for example, look, in under here, you could just kind of refine that a little bit more, look, just like that. So those little things, small little bits like that, I think, just, you'll see it helps. Have a lovely day, thank you for watching. Do subscribe, do give me a thumbs up, please, if you enjoyed the video. I'll be back next week with another tutorial. Thank you so much, happy painting, and God bless.